Boys and Ghoul Film Review. My name is Sarah Stephenson, and this is my co-host, Michael Stephenson.
G'day.
We will be reviewing and critiquing fantasy, horror, and sci-fi movies and TV shows. This is a no troll zone, so all you trolls out there, I advise please leave the room.
Yeah, get under the bridge where you belong and just pick on billy goats.
Mm-hmm. So fasten your seatbelts, guys. We're in for an interesting time for you as we review our latest film.
Okay, now today it's a funny one. It's not quite a fantasy, but it's a musical animation with a mixture of live in it as well. But it borders on fantasy, but there's some good, interesting bits in it. So we thought, well, why not give it a critique?
Yes, and so we will. So the movie we're reviewing is called Song of the South, and it was made in 1946.
Yeah, by the Disney Studios.
No less.
Good old Walt.
Mm-hmm. Walt was really into this movie. He's been a big fan of these stories that were based around
a book called Uncle Remus, it was.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he wanted to do this for a long time. So this is his baby.
Well, yeah, Walt Disney was into adventure and fantasy and different things. That's why we think that this movie sort of fits in that sort of genre, even though it may not be officially a fantasy movie. So
yes,
we're going to do it anyway.
Yes, so let's discuss the plot itself. So take it away, Mike.
Right. Well, basically, it's a simple story about a family who actually come from the South. I'll use the words white in the nicest possible way. A white American family come back to the plantation because it's just after the Civil War. Slavery's been abolished, but there's still a bit of upheaval in this. I think it's called Reconstruction period. Now, the father, he's a journalist or a newspaper man, and he's got a few problems from where they normally live, so he's taken his family back to the plantation to keep them safe, and then he disappears for most of the movie to go back and take care of some things. Now, meanwhile, back at the plantation, the little boy, played by Bobby Driscoll, we'll talk about him later, Bobby Driscoll is the focus of the movie. It's him as a child coming to terms of his loneliness and befriending this old Afro-American gentleman called Uncle Remus. And Uncle Remus is a mature gentleman who likes telling stories. He's content with his life. He's a happy man, and he loves children and all that sort of thing. But the storytelling is not just for the kiddies. It's for everybody. He's sort of a bit like a moral teacher. I think he comes over that way.
Yes, exactly. So.
But anyway, do you want to talk a bit more about the storyline?
Yeah, well, it takes place back in that period, and as the story grows, the kids, it deals with a lot of pent up issues, and while a lot of people out there have looked at this movie with a very one-sided face or one-sided brain, and think of it as a racist movie, but I don't see too much racism in this movie ever. No.
Some websites have got it saying some people don't like it, and that's the people who are commenting on it. Probably Afro-American people who think the coloured folk, and I say that in the nicest possible way, are being depicted in a demeaning way or oversimplifying their conditions or making it look like it's too nice. But this period was actually after slavery had been abolished. These people who work in these farms had a choice to actually stay there, live, work on the farm, have shelter, food, protection, or they could actually leave.
Yeah.
So, and they're depicted, the songs didn't say, hey, we're really happy in our work. The blues started with people like this saying, we sing about our day. I have got a really bad day happening, I will sing about it. and I'll sing about
Yeah,
this is really bad, but
most
I'll
of the
get over
songs
it.
in this don't depict sadness, not so much.
Well, they're not sad, but the dialogue in the songs for the Afro-Americans were actually depicting what they were doing during the day and how they felt weak and tired and happy to have a place to live.
Yeah,
that sort of stuff. But it didn't say, hey, isn't God wonderful? Isn't my boss wonderful? No, it doesn't say that.
Yeah, just like the song We Still Call Australia Home, which is a good song for you to listen to for those who are into that sort of music.
Yeah.
So, technically, guys, even though a lot of people keep thinking, if these guys are singing how wonderful this is,
well, they didn't say how wonderful it was.
It was.
You've got to listen to the lyrics.
Yeah,
that's the whole point. And people think that they aren't listening to lyrics. They're just saying, I'm tired, I've had a hard day, and I'm really lucky to have a place to lay my head.
Yeah, I haven't ever gone time traveling before, but when I look at this movie, we don't know what they were like, how they spent their time when they weren't working. They could have been happy. They could have had a lot of fun times just sitting, chatting with each other and thinking how it's great to have friends and family around you.
See, holding a thought too, if you are born in a situation like, say, born into, say, slavery or, let's say, on a farm property such as they were, even if they were free, and they didn't know any other existence, they would not necessarily be upset for stuff they didn't have because they wouldn't have it and they wouldn't know it existed. So they would be happy with their day-to-day work and lifestyle and be thankful for everything they've got, not going bitch, 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 moan, 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 as some people would like to see them depicted in these sort of movies.
Yeah, in this movie it doesn't depict anything horrible.
No, they were just happy to have a place to live and work.
Yeah, anyway, so its mainly focuses more on the kid, Uncle Remus, and the stories. So we don't even see too much of, say, the live action part of the story.
The people, it's more about the animated side of it with Brer Rabbit and Brer Fox and Brer Bear and other people such as that.
All those kids-related stories that they're grown so used up often in Disney. And if you notice, they also made a ride down in Disney World that is still used today.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, but but to get onto things like the Brer Rabbit stories, some people commented on those as being, it's not very nice because Brer Rabbit is a really nasty little guy. He's cheeky, he's naughty, he treats people bad or whatever. But it's depicting the way a child's mentality would be, and hey, what I did, I was wrong, and I learnt to get myself out of a problem, sort of thing. Yeah. Even though he made mistakes, he paid for his mistakes in the end.
Yeah, one of the stories which comes to mind, the first one, in the story, Johnny is about to run away from the plantation and try to meet up with his dad, but Uncle Remus sits down with him and tells him a story about how Brer Rabbit decides to leave his home, and then he gets into a lot of heck of a trouble.
So he went back home again to where he was safe.
Yes. So it was sort of like
a good moral story.
A good moral story, but reverse psychology thrown in there.
Exactly. A lot of reverse psychology, but reverse psychology at a level that, say, kids can understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it doesn't have to always be an adult perspective on life and in movies, especially if it's a family movie such as this.
Yeah. And the second story, which dealt with Brer Rabbit and the Tar Baby. I don't know if most of the guys read the story, but it's an interesting story where Brer Fox and Brer Bear were going to trap Brer Rabbit by making a fake
human
being and trick him into pounding the creature out.
Yeah, and because Brer Rabbit was a happy little fellow, and he was going to say good morning to everybody, and this little creature didn't answer him, and he got very annoyed. And said, if you don't answer me, I'll count to 3, and if you don't answer me, I'm going to hit you. And he hit him. Well, this little creature was made out of tar, and he got stuck to him, and he got trapped.
It doesn't mean that it's necessarily implying violence. I mean, the interesting part to the story, the moral to it, is you have to think with your head, not your fist.
And in the end, he thought of his fist. I mean, he got himself into trouble by being naughty, but he got out of trouble by using his wits.
By exactly using more reverse psychology in this one too.
On the simple bear and the cunning wolf.
Yeah, fox.
Oh, sorry, fox. Sorry. Oh, yeah, big bad wolf, big bad fox. Oh, it's the same thing.
Yeah, try
Rare
living.
fox,
Try living
okay.
with this one here.
Okay. Yeah, it's a fox, it's a wolf. Yeah. Hey, anyway,
Yeah,
they
same
would.
thing.
Oh, actually, that brings another thing up. Now, and I think I saw this on the internet somewhere. Some people were annoyed that all the animated creatures had Afro-American voices. And obviously you got the Simple Bear and Brer Fox, and they were they were losers and idiots and
Yeah,
stuff.
just so
And-
you guys know,
yeah.
Uncle Remus and the Fox's voice are one and the same
that's
person.
Okay. They've done up some voice, but they use the same. They use the Afro-American voices for all those parts. And I don't think it was meant to be a derogatory, but if Uncle Remus, who was an Afro-American man telling a story, would actually be telling stories to Afro-American people in the main, and obviously then in their mentality, it would come over, if anyone's making up a voice, that would be Afro-Americans.
Yeah.
So it wasn't. I don't think it was picking on anybody
It's not
or
picking on
typecasting
any-
or anything else.
typecasting or anything like that.
Yeah.
And technically, I won't. I don't think I would change the voices, even if I
No,
wanted to.
they were very good. The people who did the voices, Uncle Remus did the bear, he said?
The fox.
The fox. And he was really good at it. And it was humorous, it was funny, it was well intentioned.
Yeah.
It was great, it was good entertainment.
And Brer Rabbit was really funny.
Yeah.
And clever.
Yeah, and it's there's I can't see anything wrong with it, but for some reason or other, Disney Studios won't release this movie at this current point on the American home video market.
Or even on the special Disney Plus stream they're releasing out there
Yeah,
now.
same thing, home network. They won't release it because I think it's controversial because of the demeaning nature of the movie and stuff. I can't see it being demeaning unless someone's being really precious about, oh, we're not really like that. Well, were these people there back in those days? Not necessarily, and it wasn't meant to be a historical movie.
Yeah, and there's like a lot of Disney movies I've noticed out there, not just counting this one, that have been refused to be put on that particular stream. I don't know why they're not there, because technically they were really awesome movies.
Exactly right.
For the day.
Saying no, it didn't exist because it annoyed 1% of the population or something, or even less than 1% of the population. I mean, I thought it was majority rules, not minority rules.
Yeah.
I mean, if the rest of the world loves it, if you have got so many billions of people in the world and 100 people in the world don't like it, get over it. Suck it up, get over it.
And watch something else.
And watch something else. You don't have to watch it.
Yeah,
you don't have to buy it.
And there's a lot of other ones that are pretty funny, and there's nothing wrong with them, not politically or anything like that.
Political correctness gone crazy.
Yes, and they were pretty awesome, interesting movies, because they didn't. There's nothing wrong with them. They're just being forgotten. That's the big problem.
And it's sad because there's a lot of good movies out there have been squashed. We think this isn't very good. It's a bit sensitive on this nature for this thing or something else. And they say, oh no, we won't do it because it might annoy one or two people.
Or it may not even mention that part. They may just pretty much forget it, the movie, and don't remember it because it was not a short. It was probably just a short film project, and they just damn well forgot about it because it was such a small thing.
Yeah, I think it gets down to the trolls are taking over the media. I mean, you got racist trolls, and they look at anything which, this might be a little bit racist, so we can't have it. We'll complain about it, or we don't think it's politically correct because they did something else, so we'll make a complaint about it. Or it just goes on and on. Where do you draw the line? I mean, you look at cartoons. I've got some Bugs Bunny cartoons, which are banned cartoons. It was done poking fun at the Germans and the German army during World War II. They're banned now because, they're not very nice. It might annoy the Germans. I'm sorry, but it was done back in those times when there was a war on, and they were killing the rest of the world.
Yeah, and look
I'm sorry.
Indiana.
It doesn't make it go away.
And look at Indiana Jones. That's poking fun of the Germans a little bit.
Yeah, they made a bit. One guy takes on the German army and wins. Hello. It's out of touch with reality. It makes it look really simple, But it's Indiana Jones. He's a hero. He's great. He's fantastic.
Yeah, and it's not totally poking fun of our But I'm going ahead of myself, guys. Sorry again for going ahead as per usual. So I'll continue with this fun story about this movie. So the final story that Uncle Remus does mention is about about Brer Rabbit's happy place.
Oh yeah, that was
where
fun,
he was
that.
in order to try to outwit the fox and the bear and try to make him think, I know this beautiful, wonderful place.
And I'm always happy and smiley and
always
laughing.
happy and smiley. And the bear wanted to find out where it is.
And the fox thought, oh no, it's another trick. But
Yes.
the bear being bigger and stronger
and stupider.
and very stupid, talked him into it. I'm going to beat you up. I want to see this laughing place. Yeah, so they did. And we won't tell them how that works out.
Yeah,
but it was very funny. And it was,
I've seen it. I've seen most of these
it's a good look.
of these of the Brer Rabbit stories in Disney. It's just short bits. They often just add it into
they take
Disney
snippets
segments.
out of here and there, but they won't show the whole movie.
But they won't show
do
the whole movie.
However, actually, I'll digress a minute. Anybody who can't get a copy of this movie, especially in the States, I think you can still get a torrent download of it.
Yeah.
So if you go for Song of the South movie 1946, you should be able to find a copy of it. And I think it's a good look, purely for the fact that the acting is purely period for that time. And I wouldn't say stagey, but it wasn't sharp.
Yeah.
But the animation that Disney did, and the way they actually put the animation and the live together, is probably on par with what they're doing now with the CGI. They didn't have CGI back in those days. They had a bit of green screen, and they had a few other odds and sods. They had nothing else, and I think it's still good what they did then in comparison to 80 years later. We haven't progressed that far.
Yeah, just so you guys know, Walt Disney didn't do things by halvesy.
He was a very talented man.
He was a very wanting everything to be spot on, right there, and make it more believable
Near
to
enough
the
wasn't
audience.
good enough.
Near enough was not good enough.
He wasn't perfect.
Word perfect and make it believable for the audience and
take them away. Fantasyland. That's it.
So this is what we're trying to say here. This movie is just mostly drawn upon the fantasy side, not about political, extremist, racist stuff.
No. So if anybody wants to watch a movie which has got, I'd say, a good mixture of live and animation and a reasonably good story, a great family movie. It's great for kids can watch it. Even old people can watch it and people in the middle. It's not an action movie. It's not going to scare the crap out of anybody. It's just a nice, good, a feel-good movie.
Yeah, and just so you know, when way to the end of the story, there was the kid Johnny who found out that Uncle Remus was leaving because the mother of the household told him to keep away from her son, not fire him or anything.
And
like
his way of getting away was to leave the place because he couldn't keep away. Because I think the old man generally started to get this feeling of love for this little boy who was lonely.
Yeah,
I mean, not a nasty love, a nice platonic love. Which anyone should. Most of us should have, but we don't for some stupid reason.
Yeah, and we overlook that natural classic part to this story, guys.
The love between two human beings, a non-sexual love, a platonic relationship love.
Yeah.
Like I can love the person next door, the man, lady, the kid next door, without actually making it dirty and sleazy and horrible because I love them as a human being.
Yeah, that's the problem with these people out there, the trolls. They keep thinking
the worst of everything.
The worst of everything.
Yeah.
Even the worst of a simple classical plot.
But there's more love in this movie than anything else.
Yeah, like
the love between the mother and the father, the boy, Uncle Remus, the little boy making friends with a little girl, and the little Afro-American boy. There was lots of love in there.
There was a lot of love.
Yeah, and that's really it's a love story to the people who want to watch it.
Yeah, and those people who keep going back to the Civil War, they just overlook the fact there was an aftermath thing that happened after the Civil War.
Yeah, the Reconstruction period, I believe it's called. And there's you had movies like Mandingo, they had Roots, and that took you through that same period during the slavery and after the slavery.
Yeah, just think
And the
about it,
people
guys.
and the Afro Americans, the one Alex Haley did the Roots one, depicted them as slaves, harsh environment, but then in the end they made a decision to stay on the farms, and their conditions got a bit better because slavery was abolished and they had to be treated a bit better.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yes.
and what are we now? We are all paid slaves going to work, doing our 9 to 5s. We work for somebody, we get paid, we come home, and money goes out the door on rent, home repayments, food on the table. At the end of the
Yeah.
week, got nothing left. We go back to work and do it all again. So
Yes.
who's a slave?
Yes, so way to the end of the story, the boy finds out that Remus is gone, so he ends up crossing the field when he sees his
It's big
cart going,
His cart, yeah.
driving.
And the bull sees the little boy.
And the boy who was wearing a scarlet type outfit, or red anyway, and the bull starts to follow him in a fast pace, and we don't get to see it.
You don't
because
see it,
we
obviously.
kind of
That'd be inappropriate.
left it up to the viewers to
Imagination.
imagine what
But
happened.
we must admit, the boy did make the fence one way or the other.
Yes,
He was
he
laying
may
there
have-
next to it.
Yeah, and Remus and the boy's dad soon arrive at the plantation, and things slowly began.
Well, yeah, the
it
little boy
started
was
off
calling out
it
for
started
Uncle
off
Remus.
sad,
Yeah.
and then it started getting a little bit more.
Yeah, the little boy came around a bit and it's calling for Uncle Remus. Uncle Remus came there and started talking to him, and he's getting to his subconscious mind. Little boy woke up again and was happy to see Uncle Remus. Then his daddy was standing there, and his mummy, and his dad said, "I'm not going to go away. I'm going to stay here with you." And everyone's happy and smiling. And next scene, he's up and around, running around with his
With all his
friends,
friends
and
and
all
stuff.
these fictitious characters.
This is where it gets really fun.
And it comes out, well, we don't go too much, but they come out and they're playing with them, which is quite nice. It's a really good finish to it.
Yeah, and adds a nice, good touch.
Yeah, the warm and fluffy feeling.
Another interesting thing I like to bring up is that the fox and the bear sort of like were inspired characters from these two bullies in the scene.
There's two young boys and they're two white children who were picking on this other little white boy. Okay, I'm
Johnny.
using white just for differentiating it.
Yeah.
Because we're
Just so you don't get
Negro,
confused.
And no one actually says anything about these kids being really nasty little creeps.
Yeah.
But they were really nasty and picking on everybody. They were out of control kids. Today, you put them in a bloody foster home or something rather, put an institution, lock them up. They were really nasty pieces. But no one says anything about their behaviour.
Yeah, and the interesting thing, they were depicted as
Yeah,
the
probably the fox and
the bear.
Actually,
And
there's
it's-
another thing here which you probably aren't aware of, but I'm going to throw in here.
Okay.
Back in the olden days, there was a radio show called Amos and Andy. Mm-hmm. There was a smart, sharp, smaller guy, I think it was Amos, I think, and the big lumpy guy was Andy, I think, or could have been the other way around. So, small guy, sharp-witted, the other guy was a bit more of a lumbering giant, and you think about Amos and Andy, you think about these two guys, similar period, might have got the idea for that, and then a couple of years later, a cartoon's made up, Calvin and the Colonel. And Calvin and the Colonel, and they were done with Afro-American voices as well, and I think it has a spin-off of Amos and Andy as well.
Yeah,
so you
so-
think about maybe that whoever did the caricature idea and the story for this might have taken it from Amos and Andy.
Yes, so
Interesting.
technically, if don't think that it's the race. There's a racist thing here because there's no racist thing here.
The coloured, the Afro-American people are not treated with disrespect in the movie. Maybe some people think their conditions are romanticised a bit. Well, it's a fantasy movie.
For kids and
For kiddies.
family.
What do you want? To have a bloody stocks there and somebody whipping them during the movie? Would that make somebody happy?
Yeah,
I think not.
Would it make the kids want to stay in the seats and watch it?
They will cry to mummy and daddy and have horrible dreams.
And be traumatized for life.
Yeah, so it's a fantasy movie. It's basically a kiddie come general movie with some songs thrown in. It's a feel good movie,
Yeah.
worth a watch if you can get a copy.
Yeah. And another thing I like to bring up, in year 2003, the Online Film Critics Society ranked the film as the 67th greatest animated film of all times. And it seems strange that Disney just doesn't even take into account that so many people have given this film a good,
Give them a chance.
good
Nowadays,
look at
in
it
America.
now.
In America. And I don't think it's a worldwide thing, but I think it's not being issued in America.
And just so you know, Whoopi Goldberg, who was on an interview, she expressed that she loved this movie and they should show it more in America.
Yeah, they should release it for home videos and whatever, so people will actually see it.
Yes.
I'll add something to it about the actors, though, while we're here. There's Bobby Driscoll was the little boy who was in it. A couple of years later, he was in Treasure Island.
Yes.
And a few years later, he did the voice of Peter Pan in the Disney cartoon. The little girl who was in it, her name was
Ginny.
Ginny in the movie, but her name is Luana Patton. She did quite a few movies after this as well. She was actually a child model, and then she was seen, and she is a cute, adorable, sweet. I mean, some kids pretend to be. She was. She was a beautiful little girl, cute, lovely, sweet, natural, and I'm surprised she didn't do too many other movies. But did
just so you know, that she started modelling when she was about 3 years of age.
3, I think,
So that's, 2 thumbs up for her.
Yeah, but the guy who played Uncle Remus, his name was James Baskett. Now, he was actually given some award which was highly unlikely for any Afro-American guy or lady to get back in those days for his portrayal in that movie. So go figure it. I mean, if it was that bad, I mean, they don't... I'm not quite finished.
Go on.
Afro-Americans back in those days hardly got a chance to even get a credit mentioned. And he actually gets an award? Go figure it.
Think about this, guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
But another thing, there's a lady who played a housekeeper. Her name's, I think, Hattie something or other. I can't remember her last name. She was actually the mammy in Gone with the Wind. So people say, oh, typecast as slaves and domestic help. So what? That's what they were back in those days. What do you want to be? Fighter pilots?
Yeah.
Doctors? Lawyers?
And if there was a lot of wealthy white people in the movie, what are you going to do? You can't reverse the roles.
Yeah, they would have had coloured, Afro-American slaves.
It would not fit in history, mostly. It would be like altering history altogether.
Exactly right. And think about it too. If you had someone coming off one of these farms to go and get a real job somewhere else after slavery was abolished, okay, have they been to school? No. Have they been taught a trade? No. What are they going to do? They're going to work on a farm, or they're going to do a kitchen hand job, or they're going to do a labouring job. They didn't have any education to fall back on, so they would have to take these demeaning jobs down the bottom.
So, trolls out there, please be aware that this film is not got a racist bone in its body.
Irrespective. Trolls need to
back off
from everything and look at everything in the proper light, not what you think the world should be. There is no such thing as troll utopia. Yes,
no trolls here, guys. And another thing, guys, I heard a while back. I heard some horrible parents going on about certain fantasy fairy tale movies and fairy tales in general, and they want to do they were trying to ban certain fairy tales like Sleeping Beauty and Snow White because they think the idea of a woman being kissed is considered.
I think the idea is she was asleep and the guy violated her space. That sort of stuff. Unwanted sexual approach by kissing on lips.
Yes.
But look at the storyline. He saw Snow White. He was taken her beauty, and he thought she was dying or dead. He gave her a kiss out of love.
Yes.
Not out of sex.
Not a grope, guys.
No, he didn't. It wasn't a kiss out of sex. It was a kiss out of love. He fell in love with this beautiful young lady, and he said, I wish I could have met her and made her my wife. So he gave her a kiss on the lips to say farewell, see you in another life maybe, and that was it. And she woke up. Love's first kiss. Similar thing with Sleeping Beauty. She was in a coma or something or other.
Snow White.
No, I did Snow White.
Yeah, we were talking about Sleeping Beauty and.
I said Snow White. And Sleeping Beauty was saying that she was in a coma. same thing. And
Yeah,
the prince fell in love.
So this really annoys me that
What's wrong with love?
that they don't they keep digging too much into even just the smallest classical stories in history, and they just don't realize when to hold.
Yeah.
I mean, this stuff we grew up when we were kids. Technically, they didn't harm us. We didn't go out and grope someone.
No. Exactly
if someone
right.
did grope, I'd probably call the police on them.
Yeah. That's
And
right.
I wouldn't be blaming fairy tale stories out of it.
Does the word nanny state come to mind anywhere?
Oh yeah, don't go there.
I mean, you can't protect everybody from everything because you feel like it.
Yes.
And these people always do good to say, oh, we don't like that book, we'll have it banned from our school or all the schools. Why? I mean, there was a book came out years ago, probably before your time. I think it was called The Little Red School Book. Now, I don't know if it was all over the world or just in Australia. I think it had something to do with sex and that sort of stuff. A sex manual guide so teenagers could understand it. I think that got banned. And they wonder why all these kids were getting in trouble and getting sex and having sex and getting pregnant and stuff. They weren't instructed. There was no instruction in the school. Yeah. How are they supposed to learn these things? Yeah. So they banned the book.
So the moral is, guys, that the Song of the South is not, again, I'm going to say this out loud, is not a racist movie. It's a simple, basic story, classical film. Nothing that to draw upon and nothing to continue creating all these problems.
A live, animated, musical, fantasy movie.
Yeah, and I would love it if Disney would put their horrible hat on and say that they will put all Disney movies out there, not just the simple favorites that have been awarded several times.
Well, yeah, exactly right. They got a whole slew of movies, animated and real ones.
Yeah, there's like a stack of them. A lot of old ones that go back many, many years, and they have been they're not even. I mean, most of them are probably still. They haven't been edited or cleaned up because they're so old.
But they can clean them up. They got the programs now. They're doing it to old movies now. I've got some in my collection which have been. They look like they came straight out of the film booth, the developing area.
Yeah, and so there are some interesting movies out there that they may be still dirty, but you can go back and clean them, and then
sharpen up the images and stuff,
and get them ready to post them onto Disney+.
Fix the audio and stuff, but end the story. If we lose it, it's gone.
Yes.
And I'm a collector. I've got thousands of movies in my collection. I am an archivist, and I am trying to get as many titles in my collection so they don't disappear. I've got movies going back over 100 years, old silent ones and everything. Not that I want to watch them all, but I want to save them for the future because nobody else is.
Yeah, exactly.
Why aren't we preserving our history in the media? Yeah. And we do it in music.
Yeah. Stop the whole racist thing and stop questing for movies that just don't... that you think are bad, but actually they're pretty good. I mean, don't turn into Demolition Man or anything like that. I don't want a world where we don't have at least a chance for people to see something that they think is good.
Yeah, Demolition Man. Yeah, that's a good movie to focus on because a utopian society. Anything that's good for you is good. If it's not good for you, it must be bad. So it's illegal. It doesn't work.
Yes.
It can't work. It's impossible.
Yes. So,
be tolerant.
Yeah.
Be tolerant.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to watch something, don't watch it. If you don't listen to a piece of music, don't listen to it. But don't stop other people.
Yes, exactly. I just wish that Disney would take more positive criticism instead of
be
negative.
proud of what they've done for the media.
And stop taking other people's work.
What do you mean?
You see, Disney's taking a lot of other people's work.
No, don't take...
I mean, it's just because they buy 20th Century Fox does not give them the right to steal someone else's work and start playing around with it or removing it from archives and decides to ban it.
They're not released. They're not renewing anything. They're not redistributing it anymore. That's not the same thing.
That's what worries.
No, look, many movies have died off over the years because no one's watching them that much, or they don't think so. They're not making money out of it, so they're not going to put them out there. The people aren't going to buy it or watch it. Mm-hmm. That's it.
Sorry about that, guys.
No,
I'm just a little
you get annoyed at things disappearing.
With Disney at the moment.
But Disney and other studios need to at least save what they got. Put it in digital, shove it in a file somewhere in a computer so it's there and it's saved for the future. It may be popular again one day. It may not. But if it's gone, it's gone.
Right, there goes the popular movie for the day. That we'll never see in the next... I've seen a few of the old Disney movies that only showed up on Channel 7... that appear on Sundays years back. This is going back to the 90s and the 80s, where they would often show snippets of the movie. You know, just say 30 minutes of it before saying to be continue. Wait for the next episode next week.
Yeah, a bit like a serials. They did serials. They all do or 2-parters or 3-parters, and they get you into what's come back next week. Yeah,
exactly. And those movies, I'm sad to say, they're pretty much disappearing. And the only time I ever seen them now is on YouTube from a VCR point of view, from a person who probably kept a copy of it, but has to wait this long to release it onto YouTube.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you guys heard this one called The $1 Million Cat.
Oh, I like that one. Very nice.
Yes. Have you guys heard of it? No?
Nope. Yes. No. Can't hear you.
Can't hear you,
Speak
guys.
louder.
Speak louder. Well, it's pretty much an awesome movie, but I won't go into that one. But there's some awesome ones out there that have been not released or even shown for the last, say, 20 years. Which worries me a lot.
Well, I can bring one up right now. There's a movie which has just been re-released this year, I think, which I've just got a copy of legally. I do buy some, but it was made in 1964. It's called The Ghost of Sierra de Cobre. Now, it started off as a 55-minute pilot episode for a TV show. And the TV production company said, oh, well, no, we won't do this series because we think it's going to be too scary or whatever, yada, yada, yada. So they canned it. So to save a bit of money, they put some extra footage in there to make it about an hour and a half movie out of it. And that movie was put through as a telly movie, whatever, didn't make it to the mainstream, and then disappeared. And it's taken, 50, 60 years for it to come back and make it available? Come on, guys. I mean, it's not a bad movie.
Yeah, by now I've looked at it myself, guys, and it's not too bad. I mean, it's good plot, good story, and it has Martin Landau in it.
But a big positive here, the guy who wrote the screenplay for it, the script for it, was Joseph Stefano. Now, Joseph Stefano did The Outer Limits. He did Psycho and in numerous other movies. So, hello. And actually, this movie has a Psycho feel to it, and the way he builds the story up, and a funny twist at the end. A very similar feel to it. Very, very well-structured script, I think.
Yeah, again, we're drifting it
We
away
are drifting,
from, again.
but we're just picking on the fact that movies disappear.
We are picking on the fact that these movies, they're not going to be around forever. We have to at least
need to save them.
We have to save these movies.
Not bury them.
Not bury them and think this will be the end of racism because we think a buried movie would get rid of racism.
Like one of my favourite movies is actually a silent movie, Metropolis. That was done by Fritz Lang in Germany. I can't remember, 1930s, somewhere. I can't remember. A great movie. And then he went to America and made talkies. But what happened if they didn't keep a copy of Metropolis? It would not be available today.
Yeah, bear in mind, guys, I didn't say anything about this movie being racist. I just meant that as an example because a lot of people are trying to bury these movies because they think if we get rid of these movies that indicate racism, then we'll bury the racism. But it doesn't mean it goes away.
If you're going to be racist, you're going to be racist whether you see a movie or not.
Yes.
And it's not really depicted in the movie.
Yeah.
The people aren't actually insulted, and then the actors weren't insulted to get paid to be in the movie. Yeah. Have a think about it.
Think, guys.
How about
I know it's hard, but think.
Take Wizard of Oz. all the Munchkins.
Yes.
They had the dwarves. They were part of an actors guild. They didn't mind being part of the actors guild of dwarves or whatever. So they did these roles of dwarves in movies and stuff, and they got paid for it. They didn't say you're picking on me because I'm a bloody dwarf.
Yeah. So guys, we're drifting away again.
No, we're not.
But bear in mind, guys, this is we're not attacking certain people at the moment in this video. We're just trying to open up and realize that this world is full of
There are a lot of good movies that should be out there.
A lot of good movies out there that worth watching
and should be available.
And should be available to everyone.
Yeah, no matter whether, say, a couple of people don't like it.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I mean, if you don't like it, don't watch it.
It's like you go to the pictures to see a new movie. You don't like it, walk out.
Yeah.
In this case, you turn a TV on or your YouTube or whatever, and you say, I don't like it. I'll change the channel or leave the room, or I'll go I'll go and get my stamp collection now. It's more interesting.
Yeah, this is one of the reasons why people are walking out of new movies, because they're lacking certain things.
Sometimes they're either really bad movies, or they don't like the theme of the movie, or there's something in the movie that they don't like or find offensive. They have an option to get out of their seat and use their feet and go for a walk.
Yeah. Or
say, let's ban the movie.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with opinions about it. But
opinions are good.
But the executive guys who are running the studios, the Disney guys, the other people guys,
and other studios,
they're just plain old putting their own personal opinion about this, and they've never bothered to watch the movie, I imagine. But
probably some of them haven't, because it's before their time. They don't care.
Yeah, and if they did, they didn't put a very good critique on it.
Well, I didn't think it was very. I don't watch such movies. I think it's a load of rubbish. Don't care. Blah blah blah. I think a couple of people wrote me a letter last week saying I think it's offensive. Okay, we won't distribute it.
You're going to have to look at a lot of trolls out there.
Too many trolls. And I thought they were only in fairy tales.
There are a few in this world at this very moment.
Too many trolls.
So, guys, we're drifting away again.
No, we're not. We're talking about trolls now.
So, let me say, The Songs of the South Song of the South is pretty much an awesome movie. Very lovable. Has an awesome cast of people and cartoons, and I recommend it highly to every age.
A top family movie.
A top family movie, yes.
Yeah.
So I give this movie. What would you recommend?
I'd give it. Honestly, for the way they've integrated the animation and the life, I've got to give it a 9.5.
Yeah, 9.5 out of 10.
Yeah, easily.
So we pretty much agree on that. So,
job well done, Mr. Disney.
Yes, wherever you are, we all pray for you.
Well, I don't pray for him. I just like what he's done. But anyway, irrespective, his production company, and I understand Mr. Disney was a hard man to work for. He didn't take second best.
Yes.
So it shows in his product.
Yes, a smart man with a smart brain.
He had a vision.
Yes, a creative vision.
Yeah, he was.
So thanks, guys, for listening to this broadcast. So see you guys next time, same which hour. Till then, this is Sarah Stephenson saying,
Goodbye.
Goodbye.